we have Scott Potter with Metro Water. And Mr. Potter, you're welcome to get started. If you'll introduce everybody that you have here with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce the Chief Financial Officer to my right, Amanda Deaton-Moyer, the Director of Asset Management and Strategic Planning, Shanna Whitelaw, to my left. Over here at the table, Mr. John Honeysucker and Mr. Jim Snyder. Leoncio Dominguez is in the back, and I think that covers everybody, except for our friends in Public Works. Should I proceed?
Go right ahead.
All righty. So I'll talk briefly about the budget and then go into questions and answers. This year we're requesting a 7% increase. I'm sorry, 7% increase in our operating budget. We haven't had a budget increase in 3 years, and we've run out of room. So we need to have an increase of 7% that we're requesting. The last increase was in 2012 that was significant. Some major components associated with that is casting adjustments, $1 million that's related to Public Works paving. Patch paving is going up by $2 million, and that's related to water and sewer main breaks that we need to repay Public Works for doing the patch paving after that. Utility locations are going up by $500,000, and that's just directly related to the amount of activity in Nashville's development. And repair costs, generally speaking, going up about $500,000 because we're experiencing more water main breaks and more sewer breaks due to the aging infrastructure. And chemical costs, we need to go up by about $1 million because the cost for feeding carbon has gone way up to about $3.5 million a year. And if we don't feed carbon, the taste and odor issues would go very significantly, very quickly. So we have to feed carbon. We just need to feed more. And that's going up by $1 million. So that's a summarization of our budget request, 7% increase, and I'll welcome any questions y'all have.
And I'll start real quick. Does that come from water rate increases, or where does that revenue come from? If you could... That
would come from existing revenue. We've got a good example to talk about this year. Our revenue minus expense right now is $87 million. So the debt service on that is 62.4, so our delta is 24.6 million, and that would go into the capital improvement fund, our E&R fund. So at the end of the year, we'll probably get about another 12 to 14 million on that. So we've got room in our existing revenue stream to increase our budget without requesting a rate increase.
Councilwoman Weiner. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Chair. Scott, your book is bigger than ours, and you have 2 of them.
Well, we try to bring everything we can possibly think of.
So let's talk about third-party damages. Looks like our aging is at $705,000, and it looks like we have recurring actors time and time again that we keep awarding contracts to. How do we manage this, and who's responsible?
We're responsible for recovery. I'll walk you through a scenario. Sherry Weiner Incorporated breaks a water main. We repair it, and we capture all of the costs associated with that. It would take a variety of amount of time for the close what the total cost is. If it's a really significant repair, a lot of the restoration costs are going to happen 2-3 months later. So when we bill is dependent on the severity of the damage. All right, so then a clock begins, and we wait 120 days before we get, I guess, worried about them paying, and now we're going to start turning them over to collections. We didn't have that tool in our toolbox in the past. We had relied on goodwill of the contractors and working with Metro Legal down the legal path to recover that fund. But now we're going to start sending overdue payments to collections to encourage people to pay us back.
At what point will you send that out, that collections letter? At what point in your aging?
120 days plus 30. No, 120 days, and then we'll give 30 days to pay, and then we go to collections.
And what's 120 the magic number? Why is that the magic number?
That's right. Metro Legal advises that number.
Okay, because I see some that are outstanding 281 days, and I see a lot of them. That's because the greatest outlier.
That's because we didn't have the tool in our toolbox to go to collections. Historically, I've been here 16 years, and the availability of using collections on damage wasn't really available to us. Now we kind of think it is, so we're using that. So
And everybody on this list has been turned over to collections?
we've sent them a letter telling them we're going to go in 30 days to give them an opportunity to go ahead and pay us.
Okay. And Mike, I think you had told me there was no option for us to keep someone that's a recurrent offender from being provided new permits or anything based on their debt. That's not constitutional.
That's generally true. The U.S. has a pretty strong tradition in its emergence of being anti-debt penalty. We do not put people in prison for being in debt, and we therefore can't discriminate the indebted status of someone who's applying for a permit on the virtue of them being insolvent on their payments to Nashville or behind in their payments to Nashville for third-party damages. Metro Legal has had some experience with this, and I still owe them a call to get a little bit more background, but that's generally the prohibition on it.
And that's why in the past, we tried to take as gentle of an approach as we possibly could to get them to pay us. Because if we introduce litigation, then the cost of the government go up, and the net return to us goes down. So that's why historically we pursued that option.
Have we looked at companies that will buy the debt from us and let them go collect it? Is that a more cost-efficient process?
We haven't done that. I think going with the options of going to a collection agency first, let's see how that works. And if that doesn't work, maybe we go to that option.
Okay. All right, so that was thing number one. And Councilmember Hurt asked me, she couldn't stay, and gave me a couple of questions. She wants to know how you spent the $15 million that we approved in last year's budget.
All right, the flood system, I'm going to start from scratch. Last year, I had two major initiatives on the plate. I had the stormwater fee increase and the flood. So I had to make a decision which one I was going to use my bandwidth on to try to get approved. So we chose the stormwater fee. While we were doing that, we used the $201,350 to finalize the plans, get all the educational materials ready to go. And what I suggest to the council presently is that we go through the similar type of process starting in September of this year, where I come to the council and we start over. I educate y'all on the system, make sure you're understanding how it would work, and then we go to the community and we have a process exactly like we had for the stormwater fee that will hopefully result in March, like we did this year, that we have a vote up or down on the project. I just don't think I had the bandwidth available to take both through the process this year because they're both obviously very significant projects. So that's what I'm going to suggest, is that we do a stormwater fee type process with the flood system starting in September from step one.
Okay, and then her second question is, do you receive FEMA money in a disaster like the flood, and if so, how do you distribute it?
We received, 2010 flood. I don't have the number in front of me, but we bought 249 properties after the May 2010 flood. 75% of that was FEMA, 12.5% TEMA, and 12.5% Metro. So when there is a disaster and it's declared a disaster, if funds are available at TEMA level, we can get access to those funds. We're presently applying for funding through FEMA on the HMGP, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, to get 100% funding on home buyout. We're also working with the Corps, and we got really good news this week that their funding source has been approved to do the home buyout on Mill Creek and 7 Mile Creek. So we do get a lot of FEMA funding. We aggressively try to go get it, and the best scenario for us is the 100% funding. The second best is the 75%, and then with the Corps, it's 60-40. So Mill Creek and 7 Mile Creek historically have a lot of bad actors. Most of those properties in Nashville and nationally, those types of properties are rentals, and most of the people who have the rentals don't have property insurance for replacement of goods lost. So getting all those homes out of the floodway is good for the citizen. And like I've said several times before, if the structure isn't there, one of our firefighters or police officers don't have to go get them. So we eliminate that risk as well. So from a home buyout perspective, we're as aggressive as we could possibly be to get as much funding as we can.
Thank you so much. That's all, Chair.
How many houses are you all looking at on 7 Mile Creek and Mill Creek?
Let's see if I got that. 47 on Mill Creek and 42 on 7 Mile.
Thank you. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. All right, so let's go back. I want to try to understand the $15 million for the study for the possibility of the flood wall. You said you spent 200 and what?
$201,350.75.
Okay, because it was in last year's budget, the 15 million. How does that work? Talia, who can answer that one for me? Does it just roll over? I mean, how does that work?
Capital allocations automatically roll over.
Okay.
Capital, they don't lapse at the end of the year.
Okay, so and all of that was, so the $15 million, what are you anticipating that you'll end up spending in order to do the project, to walk it through, to see if people want to actually engage, and if they want to say, yeah, let's spend or invest the money? How much are you anticipating you'll have to spend there?
The short answer is, Councilman, I don't know. I would say no more than $1 million, because most of it is going to be face-to-face discussion. So there's really not going to be a whole lot of expense associated with that. So one of the things that we agreed to last year was to not spend a single dollar on construction before we came back to y'all for approval. So that still stands, obviously. So the $15 million, we won't spend nearly all of that. So it's at best a placeholder. It's good to have because we can draw on that for the education process, but the real expense is going to come if the council approves the construction, and then we can go.
Which you've got it in the CIB for 2019 again, I think?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go back to the collection piece. And Mr. Jameson, let me get you to tune in with me here. I'm confused on, I read something that you guys sent back out to us, and that after 3 years, we write them off. Did I misunderstand that?
Okay, that's bad debt. So when we send a bill or we send any kind of account receivable, then we expect it to be paid back. Mm-hmm. If it's not, after 3 years, the common accounting practice requires us to write it off as uncollectible. Just to kind of give you an idea of what that number is for us, it's less than 0.5%. Last year it was 0.3%. From our perspective, industry-wide, that's extremely low. So we don't have a huge problem with that. Last year's number was about $600,000. Clearly, most of that is going to be water and sewer bills that people just don't pay. I think the whole collections option that we've employed is going to change a lot of people's hearts, because threatening litigation has not been very successful. People just go sue me, and then they know that we have to make a decision about how much money we want to invest to recover, as an example, a $50,000 damage repair. But we think sending a bill to a collection agent and getting that on their credit record will provide them some more incentive to pay. We just didn't have that option in the past.
So do we have an option, Mike, of any contracts that are awarded from any metro department that if they don't pay what is owed to the government, that we can charge them for collection fees, attorney's fees? I mean, is there any safeguards we could put in to help protect the taxpayers of Nashville?
Yeah, contracts typically have collection provisions at the end that include collection fees and attorney's fees. What is frustrating about this, and that several council members have asked about, is that if you have a company that is in debt and overdue on an account, and then they are submitting an application for a new permit on a separate project, can you preclude their application at the outset? And generally speaking, you can't. Again, going back to a lengthy common law history of this nation having a real difficulty with discriminating against those by virtue of their indebted status.
And just to remind you, Councilman, that goes back to us trying to be gentle back in the day to try to get as much money as we could, because if somebody decides to litigate, then it turns into an additional expense.
Okay, well, I don't like that answer, but too bad.
I don't like it either.
So let's go into that. We've raised stormwater fees.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a detailed list of exactly what's going to take place by district and what's going to be accomplished now that you have the additional revenue stream? What can our folks expect? Because I got an email about 30 minutes ago from somebody on Port Claiborne that we were out there 6 weeks ago, and they're like, when are you going to finish this? And it's a very small little job.
We've got the list together. We'll send it to you. You can review it, and if you have feedback, we'd love to have it. But we've got the C projects identified that we're going to go to the street with on July 1. We've got the major capital projects we're going to go to the street with on July 1. Most of those, the design is complete. What we'll go to the street is construction. So you'll see a lot more work. On the C projects, I told y'all back in March that we were going to shoot for $1.5 million. It was $1 million in the past. We were going to shoot for $1.5 million. We've already got that programmed, and if we get that done quicker than we think we're going to get it done, we're going to keep going with the goal to get as close to $3 million as we can. So the contractors we have working on that are really effective, and we think they're going to be really interested in having more work. So I feel good about doing much more of the smaller capital work. And then the $20 million list is, it'll be allocated. It's $20 million. We'll allocate every dollar, and we'll be starting on July 1. We've wrestled with our friends at Finance, trying to get ahead of that, to get since we know we have the money coming, and they assure me we just can't do that. It's against the rules, so we can't do that. So
Okay, but so if I understand you correctly, then after July 1, you can send to each one of us projects that are coming in our districts.
we can send it tomorrow.
Okay.
The prospective projects.
Okay.
And we'd like your feedback on that.
Well, I think from my standpoint, I would like it. And then let me just say thank you for all the people who live in Meadows and Seven Points. That project turned out very nicely, it looks like. I mean, I realize we had some hiccups on it, but you guys did a good job. Thank you. I appreciate the work you did on it.
Thank you, sir.
And my constituents appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Potter and team for being here. We appreciate all the work you're doing in my neighborhood, tearing up my streets, putting in new water mains so they won't take us by surprise. And
We put your streets back together.
and you do, and we appreciate that too. And the contractors are always really nice about helping people get out of their driveway. So it's been a smooth process so far. So kudos to your team for great communication. So the stormwater fee increase, is that what is showing up under charges, commissions, and fees as the $20 million jump in revenues?
Can you give me a reference what you're
Let's see,
looking at?
if you're on page J65-1, between fiscal 17 and fiscal 18, under charges, commissions, and fees, it goes from 34 million to 54 million.
Yes.
So that's what we've done by raising those fees. And then on the next page, there's something that looks like a $16 million stormwater administrative expense. Is that actually administrative, or is that actually projects being done? Let's see if I can find that again.
Yeah, that's the 9.1 million. That is the delta on water and sewer. The 16.2 is going to be the increase in the total O&M budget. So that reflects the fact that we're going to spend the 34.2.
Gotcha, on actual projects.
Well, that's not all the projects, because remember, the 34.2 is O&M and capital.
And capital,
You know,
okay,
It's debt service on capital.
as well. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Potter, for being here and all your crew. Quick question about the stormwater. We've discussed this before. I remember at one time we were bringing about 17 million a year. Does that sound about right?
That's 15. That's what it's been since the inception of the
Correct.
fee.
And then we ran out of money and we passed this bill. And what's projected now? 34 million a year they'll be bringing in?
34.2.
Okay. And I was trying to look through here to find out What we talked about, as I recall, was hiring about 3 additional crews. I think we have a masonry crew, and then we have 2 other crews in stormwater. Is that correct?
Well, in the plan, those crews don't come online until year 2, but we're going to try to accelerate that. Everything that's in the plan, we're going to try to do faster. And for this year's budget, we've got 4 new people coming on board at routine maintenance, and they're 1 engineer, 1 field supervisor, and 2 administrative, essentially, to make sure we have the administrative and planning support to support those crews.
Okay.
We've also got to get the equipment for them, and we got to get that through fleet. So if we hire a bunch of people with no equipment, you know, we won't be able to employ them properly.
So how many people are on the crew? 3, 4?
It varies, anywhere from 2 to 6. You can have, if you're working on Woodmont Boulevard, you've got 2 flaggers in addition to the crew. Generally speaking, I would start with 3 or 4 and then add safety people, flaggers, or take them off if you're working off the right-of-way.
And do we know how far we're behind right now in some of the projects?
Well, we've got, we've always got a lot of work to do. And
Right.
the question, the technical answer is we've got one more thing to do all the time. So I do think we're going to make a really significant dent in the C project this year, because the contractor we've got working is really good, and they get work done quickly and with quality. So once that train starts running really well and we can put more money into it, I think we can get a whole lot more work done. And when the crews come online, obviously we'll increase our capacity by 25%. We'll be able to do more work in the direct right-of-way. So I'm really excited about our ability to do more work starting July 1.
Good. As far as some of the areas I've got out there, there's a lot of them that have vegetation in these ditches and stuff. Is that something we're doing, or are we hiring that out, or what?
Well, we work with the sheriff's department as much as we can
Right.
to get the inmate crews to do that. That's just not a good use of my crew's time, is ditch maintenance, and a lot of time it's private property. So
Right.
that's a delicate one. You know, if you've got somebody's grandma in a really steep ditch, that's when we try to get the sheriff to help us out. We work with the Parks Department and use their mowing crews as much as we can. They do great work, but they want to go home too, because we pay them on overtime, but we get better rate from them on overtime than we do on the commercial side. So it's a question of just availability of people and whether or not we should be on private property.
Right. And the other question I got, you're talking about these other properties that we're going to buy out. As I understand, a lot of the flood properties we bought out, I believe, are y'all maintaining that, or is Metro Parks doing that?
Our objective in every case is to give it to somebody else. Parks is a spectacular client of ours.
Right.
If they don't have a use for it immediately, they want us to keep it, because then we have to maintain it. But I think the question was raised earlier about, I think you brought it up. We want to give the land to Parks, and we've got a good track record of doing that.
Right.
But just like anybody else, once they take it, they have to maintain it.
Right.
So it's a question of who's going to maintain it when. So when they're ready for it, they take it. When they're not ready for it, they ask us to maintain it.
Well, aren't they maintaining some of it now or not?
Yes.
Okay. But do y'all still own the property, or has Parks got it?
One of the government owns it. What's one of the things about property is Metro Water Services doesn't own property.
Right.
It's titled to the government, however that works.
I understand that.
So, but like I said earlier, you know, we want somebody else to cut the grass. And as quickly as we can transition the property to Parks, we do it.
And the only reason I'm asking that is because I've heard comments about Parks not getting enough money for maintenance, and I knew that they were cutting a lot of the property that is in these flood-bought properties.
Well, we pay them directly, like the employees that do the overtime cutting.
Right.
We pay them directly.
Because they go out on Saturday and do that, I think.
Yep.
Correct?
Yes, sir. And we get a better deal from Parks than we do from the private sector.
Yeah, they were more expensive, as I understood, but their bids. Okay. One other thing. I want to go back. We've talked about this flood wall for years. As I understand, there was one time that I talked to you all about seeing if there was any federal funding for the flood wall down here, and y'all said there might be, and I don't know whether y'all have explored that anymore before we start talking about this again.
There's nothing in the pipeline from the Corps on the downtown flood protection system. It's just not, I don't think it's promising. The fact that we've gotten the Mill Creek and the 7 Mile Creek funding is, to be honest, extraordinary. It's an extremely long process. It takes, I mean, just to give you an example, you've got to do a study that authorizes you to do the study.
Right.
So it takes 7-8 years to get to where we are right now on the Mill Creek, 7 Mile Creek. So if we went down that path, then you're stopping the clock for at least 6 years.
Okay, but all I'm asking, was it ever investigated to see if there was any
Yes,
federal funding
absolutely.
available?
It was, and back in the day with earmarks, you know, we could have gone to the congressional delegation, but that's not an option. So our only funding sources are the Corps of Engineers or us.
Okay, and what is the Corps of Engineers saying about a flood wall and contributing?
Well, they're saying that to begin the process, it would take us 6 years. So it's really up to us if we want to gamble on getting their participation no earlier than 6 years from now.
Well, as I recall, they were part of the problem when we did get flooded. I was there. Y'all remember my speech?
Yes, sir.
And they're part of the problem. So I just wanted to make sure that was explored. Now, as I understand, y'all had also some, is there already some bonds already approved by the council, revenue bonds or general obligation bonds a few years back?
Just generally for our operations?
Yes.
Yes, sir. For water and sewer and for stormwater, we've used short-term commercial paper, and Rich, if I go astray, we went over there, yikes. Short-term commercial paper, and then once that comes to term, we issue debt. So at this point, we've got plenty of commercial paper available for us to use before we have to go back to the market.
How much would that be?
I don't know exactly the number, but we can get you that tomorrow.
All right, if you'll do that, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilwoman Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Elrod, Director Potter. We're doing great with projects out in our area. I want to thank you for that. And a lot of that is attributed to John Honeysucker. We just, as council members, are very thankful that you brought him on staff because he has been incredibly helpful in keeping our constituents informed as well as us. So
I couldn't agree more, Councilor.
Yes, I just want to bring, give that shout out and bring that to everyone's attention that we really appreciate your hiring of John Honeysucker. My question is one that a constituent wanted me to ask, and it just actually came up just this week. With the $16 million in additional funding for the stormwater projects, the cleaning out of creeks, one in particular at Cold Spring Drive at Moss Springs, hasn't been cleaned out in a while, and they said that the owner that lives next to that creek indicated that it is in a blockage state.
Okay. If it's blocking flow, we need out there. So
Yes, so that is at Cold Spring at Moss Spring Drive. So I told him I would definitely bring that to your attention.
2 people just wrote it down. We're good to go.
Okay. So projects like that, the cleaning of the creeks, that should be on a regular maintenance schedule. Is that included in these projects?
Well, you got to start at the regulatory beginning when you talk about creeks. If it's a blue line stream recognized by the USGS, then in order for us to do anything beyond what you just mentioned, solving a blockage situation, we have to get an ARAP permit to even be in the stream. And the bad news is that TDEC isn't going to give us one to go into a stream to do significant work on it. And the reason why is it doesn't work. When you look at someone's backyard and they see a bunch of rocks in it and they think, you know what, if they just dig out that stream, I wouldn't flood. Well, that visually that makes sense, but hydraulically it just doesn't work. You got to think about essentially if this room is the river and the flow goes uphill from the creek, if my arm represents the creek and you dig out underneath my elbow, you're not going to have any kind of hydraulic difference in the flow of the water. So it's difficult to explain that to people, but it just doesn't work. But if you have a blockage situation where it's obstructing flow, then that's something we have the obligation to go fix. So that's what we do. Just getting a bobcat in a stream bed and going to town, it's just number one, it's bad for the critters. Number two, it's bad for the environment. And number three, it just doesn't work.
Well, I appreciate that. But you know, Mr. J.R. Harrell on Owendale.
Have you mentioned that project before?
Yeah. Ever since I've been in the council.
Yes, ma'am.
The problem is they flooded very severely during that May 2010 flood. They were the only area that flooded in a significant way where they had to make significant improvements in their homes and with their units, replacement of units because of that. So when they moved there, when the houses were built in the 70s, the creek was properly flowing because there wasn't anything obstructing it, debris that somehow floats down and blocks the opening that's near that particular area where their homes are. It does build up over time. So their issue is not so much as just wanting somebody to clean out the creek, is they feel as though if the creek was something that flowed well when the houses were originally built, what type of maintenance schedule does Metro Water have to prevent sitting there for 20, 25 years, 30 years before any work is done to ensure that it's continuing to flow that way?
Well, like I said, Council Lady, the issue is getting that permit to get in the creek and being authorized to do work. One of the things that I think I've told you all about in the past is the Mill Creek watershed has a endangered species in it, and that also introduces a whole lot of regulatory issue. So what we'll do is, if it's obstructing flow, we'll come get it. There is no recurring maintenance schedule on creeks in Davidson County. There's, number one, there's thousands of miles of them. And number two, it's regulatorily not possible for us to get in there. Speaking directly to the Owendale project, my understanding is that we've agreed to do a third-party assessment of what would be necessary to solve that problem, and we agreed that we would do what the third party said we needed to do. Is that your understanding?
I believe John was giving me an update on that, so I look forward to receiving that new information. He has been good in terms of keeping me updated, so I look forward to receiving the additional information. One of the things with a new development, when a new development is now done, is it done differently than what was done for those homes that were built in the 70s? So if a creek is built by the homes, is there an agreement with TDEC or some agreement at that point where there's a maintenance aspect or a authorization aspect to Metro Water for them to have the ability to go in 15, 20 years down the road to be able to provide the maintenance?
No, ma'am, there's not. A blue line stream is a protected watershed, and getting regulatory approval to go into that watershed just isn't going to be possible. Subdivisions that were built in the 1970s, as an example, they were built without any type of stormwater regulation at all. Stormwater regulations were introduced in 1989, and since then, the development has been much more controlled, and this council has been a national leader, actually, in supporting above and beyond requirements on stormwater management that have directly resulted in more safe, from a stormwater perspective, development in Nashville. So the council should be very pleased with themselves that they've done that. It's just difficult for us to get in those streams. It just really is. For regulatorily, it's just not going to happen. And I know you don't like that answer, but that's just kind of where we are.
Well, we'll just continue the conversation because I have concerns about the maintenance over time.
Yes, ma'am. That makes perfect sense.
For those developments that have a creek next to the approved development and Metro not being able to maintain that down the road.
Maybe we'll get some of our friends from TDEC together, and we'll come see you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Elrod. Thank you, Director Potter. I wanted to also welcome Ms. Deaton Moyer to Metro Water.
She's from out of town. She's from Forest Hills.
She and I used to work together. She was the city manager of the city of Forest Hills in District 34. So I've always enjoyed working with her. So you have made a good hire there, Director Potter. My question comes, and it may be a question for Public Works, but some confusion in the community, and I think for myself, around where the line is between stormwater infrastructure and when a culvert goes under the road, then that's the responsibility of Public Works. And I wonder, just from a budgetary perspective and looking at how that's allotted, can you kind of just speak to that briefly? Thank you.
The technical answer is it depends. We've got a great relationship with Public Works on maintenance of the roads. I mean, generally speaking, if you're a raindrop and you hit the asphalt, you're Public Works until you hit the curb, and then you kind of belong to us. So there is no well-defined line. It's something that if it's a question, then we get together and talk about it, and usually we share the expense about fixing it. So if there's a specific issue you want us to look at, we will, but there's just really no way to do a hard and fast rule. But hopefully you'll take my assurance that we've got a great relationship with Public Works and we work to solve the problem and not worry about who pays for it.
Oh, absolutely. I think, with Mr. Reed and Mr. Palco, whenever I say there's an issue or, in the end, I think I say thank you and then to Mr. Palco, and then Mr. Reed was like, well, actually, that was a Public Works culvert. And I'm, well, okay. So good to know. I appreciate that y'all are working together. Do you have any idea, just from a split perspective? I mean, you're looking at these kind of C projects and the stormwater fee and how that funding is getting allotted. I'm just wondering what that means from a Public Works perspective in their budget, and that balance,
Okay.
if it's weighted more towards y'all versus them, or.
Well, there's no direct contribution to Public Works other than patch paving as a result of maintenance of the road. So it doesn't make sense for us to be in the paving business because that's what Public Works does. They have experts that do that. So something breaks, we got to dig up the road, they fix it, they do the paving, and we reimburse them. So, but there's no direct sharing of stormwater revenue to Public Works. That's, number one, it's not legal. So we can't do that. But there will be partnerships that will involve both Public Works funding and stormwater funding because it'll be in that category I just described. It'll be something that both utilities should contribute to solving.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilman Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Potter, just wanted to touch base with you quickly on the matter of Envision Casey. We do have the Kirkpatrick Park phase, which has been approved by council, and MDHA is looking at starting construction possibly this fall. And it's a complicated project for a number of reasons. But one of the, I guess, geographical aspects of it is that we're beginning construction at the far northeast corner of that property, kind of furthest away from downtown, and working our way down toward the river. And one of the things that the construction management crew learned in working with the Nashville Electric Service, just as one example, is that the modern power requirements are not actually met at that site, and so they're installing power lines to supply that amount of electricity up to that far corner, and then they'll work their way back down.
Right.
Just wondering, is there anything similar in terms of Metro Water requirements to work the way back toward the Cumberland River, and if so, has that already been accounted for?
Short answer is yes. We have met directly with MDHA on that project. The big concern is stormwater management because it's overland flow, and there's a lot of slope involved. We'll work with them closely on it to make sure that, number one, that it's done to spec. Number two, it's done as inexpensively as possible. And number three, it meets regs. So I feel good about where it is. I feel good about the infrastructure that's going in, and I feel really good about the level of communication. MDHA is very thorough, so I don't really have a doubt that they'll make sure that it's done right.
Great, thanks so much for that.
Councilman Hager.
Just one quick question. Quick. Mr. Potter, I know you talk about these private ditches and these blue line streams, but what happens, I've got that property on Lebanon Road near the Wilson County line, that backs up sometimes and goes out into Lebanon Road, and I've had dumpsters floating down Lebanon Road. What do we do about something like that?
Then that's a safety issue, and we should be out there fixing it. So
Okay, that's what I'm asking about. It's still the same way it was.
if it affects the road, we got to fix that.
Okay, thank you.
I've got one quick question, then maybe not one very quick question. Talked about it just a second earlier. There's no rate increase for this year, but just since we are utilities are governed by a board in Tennessee, and Metro Council is technically the board for Metro Water Services, do y'all envision any kind of rate increases, not stormwater, but rate increases for water or sewer in the near future?
Near future, no. In the future, I'm going to have a very detailed conversation with the administration and the council about how we go into the future. Nashville is growing obviously explosively, and we've got a lot of infrastructure that's really old, and we need to start replacing it more aggressively. I think that is not a short-term discussion, but I think perhaps in a couple of years, that's something I'm going to need to come to y'all to talk about.
All right, and then another question I have, and it's, I guess, a bigger conversation that I want to have with Public Works, also in the next hearing, I guess, is what can you talk about how you communicate with, or how y'all communicate with Public Works as far as different projects, working in the right of way, and that kind of thing. I've got an example I want to ask about, but to illustrate a larger point. If you could talk about that.
Well, I think the councilman is going down the path of us doing something, tearing up the road, and then 2 weeks later, somebody else coming down and tear up the road. We try desperately to avoid doing that, and we take great care, and to the extent that we have monthly meetings that are officially designed to identify what projects we've got planned, what projects Public Works has planned, to make sure we're not stepping on top of each other. We also, a perfect example is 8th Avenue Water Main Improvement Project. We're working really closely, not only with Public Works, but the state, to make sure that we can, number one, get in there and do the work, but number two, incorporate the streetscape changes that need to be done at the conclusion of the project. I'm not going to say that we don't make mistakes as far as not being completely coordinated, but usually when there's a conflict in infrastructure repair, it's an entity that's outside of the government. And that is something that we're working on, but there's differing levels of cooperation at differing levels of the infrastructure world.
And that, I think you hit it on the second part there, is this was a private actor. I had part of my district repaved. It was milled. It was, milled for, there wasn't asphalt there for, I don't know how many days.
At least 30.
And then it was recently paved, and then Yesterday, I was alerted by a fellow council member that there was a development that was going in, and it looks like he did a sewer cut. And of course, my first, asking Public Works what happened, and while I was cussing out the property owner or the developer, because I was wondering, y'all knew that this road is milled. That this was here, that that new asphalt was coming, and yet y'all cutting the new asphalt. And they said, and I'm saying that they are right. I know there are fibs that can be told.
Contractors always tell the truth.
Yes, and believe me, I understand that. And I'm not saying that they whoever, but they said that they tried to do it earlier. But it's to a larger point that I've got or a significant concern that I have, and it's not just with Metro Water, it's not just with Public Works, but more communication, not just, and I understand, I know in the discussion, the public meeting, or the Public Works meeting we had a few weeks ago on the project map, is that there are regular meetings being held, but we're getting too big for a city that we have weekly meetings, because there are more projects and more permits and more cuts and more things going in, taps going on, than I think meetings can handle. And I say all that to mean is that we're growing as a city, we're growing a lot, and that we need to have our IT or whatever type of infrastructure keep up. And while I know some of that will require general fund investment, and this is where I'll get into Public Works portion of it, but there are ways that we could fund that through tap fees, through permit fees, to try to help mitigate that, if not totally pay for a more robust infrastructure, to where Metro Water, codes, Public Works, all these different departments don't have to sit down in meetings and talk to each other, but there are flags that get brought up.
I mean, Councilman, you're right. That would be a spectacular asset for us to have.
So I say all that because it's a significant concern that I have, and I'm sure Public Works is looking forward to their hearing now in the back. But this council, I think, has a political will. I'll speak for myself that I do, but I think the rest of the council does, to increase fees to help pay for this type of system. We just passed how much was the stormwater fee increase? How much did we raise?
We went from $15 million to $32.4 million.
$17 million we raised unanimously on third reading. So I think there's a political will to increase fees to help pay for this type of system. I went on the St. Louis website and I applied for a permit just on the website, and I'll get into that later, I guess. But that was, that's not, I don't know how that needs to be fixed. But either Public Works, Metro Water, contractors, codes, to more talking to each other so that kind of thing doesn't happen, where I've got a brand new street that was paved and now it's got a big cut right in the middle of it. And it's going to have a bump in it for several years now. So,
Councilman, honestly, I can't agree with you more on that. Among the worst phone calls or emails to get is the email or communication from the mayor asking that specific question, because it really makes her mad, and with good reason. And we try really hard to avoid that. And any kind of ideas y'all have got, we'd love to hear.
Well, luckily the contractor, whoever it was, they got the brunt of it this afternoon at about 12:30, and luckily that was not streamed live. So, but there's no other questions. But I do want to say y'all do a tremendous job. Even with that rant, y'all really do a tremendous job. Your legislative team is great. You have great facilities, and you keep us up to date. So I appreciate all that y'all do. And I know on your confidence, speak to your consumer confidence report real quick. What that was sent out, I think, last week or this week.
That report is required annually by EPA, and it gives a water quality report to the citizens of Nashville. Great news is, beginning with the Cumberland River as a source, it's a wonderful, abundant source of drinking water. The watershed is it's not free from industrial impact, but it's really minimal if you compare our city to other cities. We don't have a whole lot of agricultural influence on the river or its watershed. So, and I think the industry that's adjacent to the river are very responsible for how they treat the river. Once we get the river into the treatment process, we've got the best operators in the world. I mean, I'm not being hyperbolic about that. They are the best. One of the things that we take very seriously is that when we take a glass of water from the tap, we visualize somebody handing that to a child and that child drinking it. And I think that's an extraordinary responsibility, and I think we discharge it well. But on the other hand, when that child is done with the water and it goes into the collection system and the wastewater process, those experts are equally as proud of the work they do to get that water in a condition much better than it was when it was taken out of the river to reintroduce it back into the environment. And finally, on the watershed management part of it, the stormwater, a lot of what we do is kind of invisible, but their overall goal is every day to make the watershed a little bit better. And I think they do that.
I was going to say, it's really remarkable that y'all put water back into the Cumberland River better than what you pulled it out.
Oh, it's much better.
Yes. Well, yeah. No further questions. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
And we've got Public Works up next.